English Easy Podcast.
Hello, learners. Welcome back to English Easy Podcast, your partner to learning English. And have you ever noticed that a simple text from your mother asking, "Did you eat?" Well, it can somehow make you feel incredibly loved and incredibly guilty at the exact same time.
Oh, yeah. That is such a universal feeling.
Right. I mean, I am so glad you are here with us right now, the listener, to explore why that actually happens. Whether you are, settling into your favorite chair or just resting your head on your pillow after a very long day, I want you to take a slow, deep breath.
Just let the day fade away a bit.
Exactly. Tonight, we are going down a very gentle, quiet path. We are taking a relaxing, deep dive into a world that is, it's complex, beautiful, and sometimes a little bit heavy. We're talking about the dynamics of family.
It really is wonderful to be here with you to talk about this because, family is one of those topics that touches every single part of our lives, and yet, and I'm sure you agree, it is often the hardest thing to navigate.
Oh, absolutely.
It can be a source of the deepest warmth we will ever experience, but like you mentioned with that text message, it can also be this quiet engine of guilt.
Yeah, that quiet guilt is so real.
So tonight we are going to untangle those feelings together, step by step. We will explore how our family relationships actually shape the way we communicate every single day, and how we can balance our busy modern lives with their expectations.
And most importantly for our learners, how to find the exact English words to express these very nuanced, complicated emotions. We are learning how to use English to genuinely connect with the people who matter most to us.
That's a beautiful mission for tonight.
Let's start with the scenario that I think is almost painfully familiar to, anyone trying to balance a career with a personal life. Imagine you wake up, you're rushing to get ready for work, your mind is just racing with emails, and you see a voice note from your sister.
Uh-oh. I know where this is going.
Right, so you press play, and she says, "Wow, you still remember you have a family."
Oof. Yeah, you can really feel the sting in that, even if she is saying it with a laugh.
It's like a joke, but not really a joke.
Exactly. It sounds like a joke on the surface, but there is a very real, very human vulnerability hidden right underneath that sarcasm.
There really is. Or think about seeing an aunt call your phone, not once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the ringing screen, you look at your massive to-do list for the day, and you just think to yourself, I will call her when I have more time.
Ah, yes. When I have more time.
But let's examine the psychology of that for a second, because, when I have more time isn't an actual plan. It's really just a coping mechanism for our modern anxiety. We treat free time like it is a destination we are somehow walking toward.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. We treat it like a horizon. You keep walking toward it thinking, eventually I will reach this magical land where my inbox is empty and my mind is completely clear.
But the horizon just keeps moving away.
Right? It just keeps receding. The nature of ambition and, modern work is that the tasks will always expand to fill whatever time you give them. And suddenly you look back and weeks or even months have passed without you speaking to the people who raised you.
Which is exactly where that heavy, quiet guilt begins to grow.
Yeah.
But what is so fascinating about human behavior is what happens when we finally do make that call.
Oh, this is the best part.
Right. When you finally reach that aunt after 3 weeks of putting it off, she usually isn't screaming. She isn't throwing a tantrum. Most of the time, she just says very simply, "I thought you forgot me."
And that is the line that just breaks your heart.
It really does.
Because it cuts right through the noise of our busy lives to reveal this very basic biological truth. When we look at the psychology of attachment, we see that balancing your ambition, your fast-paced modern life with your family does not actually require massive, life-changing sacrifices.
So they aren't asking us to give up our lives.
Yeah, not at all. Your family does not need you to quit your job and move back into your childhood bedroom to prove your loyalty. They are not asking for you to surrender your independence.
Then what are they really asking for?
What they are expressing is a fundamental human need to feel remembered. They just need proof that despite how big and busy and important your world has become, they still have a secure place in your mind.
So how do we give them that proof? Especially, when we are learning to express ourselves in a second language like English, we can use simple, gentle language to bridge that gap without needing to invent elaborate excuses.
Yes, simplicity is key here.
If you have made someone wait a long time, you do not need to give a 20-minute monologue about your boss, your deadlines, and your busy schedule. You could just use a very direct, honest phrase. Something like, "I didn't forget you. I'm sorry I took so long.
Listen to how calming that phrasing is, learners. I didn't forget you. I'm sorry I took so long. It completely removes any defensiveness, you know?
Right, you aren't trying to defend your busy schedule.
Exactly. You aren't making excuses. You are directly answering their secret, unspoken fear, the fear that they were forgotten. And grammatically, it uses the past tense to acknowledge the delay while instantly bringing the warmth back into the present moment.
But, if they have these gentle, hidden ways of needing love, it makes me wonder about the other things they say. Because even when we do find the time to pick up the phone, we often completely misunderstand how our family is trying to communicate with us.
Oh, constantly. We hear the literal words, but we miss the underlying mechanism of what they are actually doing.
This is a huge part of family dynamics, isn't it?
It is a crucial element. Because family love rarely speaks like a textbook. It doesn't often sit down and formally declare, I care for you deeply. Instead, well, it hides.
It hides in the most ordinary questions imaginable. Like, let's look at the absolute classic family question. You pick up the phone, and before you can even say hello properly, your mother asks, did you eat?
Right. And if we analyze this literally, it seems like a bizarre question about your daily schedule or, your food intake.
Like she's your nutritionist or something.
Exactly. But if we understand the historical and cultural mechanisms behind how families express care, we realize it has absolutely nothing to do with food.
So why is food so often the proxy for love? I mean, it's so common across different cultures.
It comes down to evolutionary biology and historical scarcity. For older generations who perhaps survived much harder economic times or times when resources were scarce, providing food was the literal physical mechanism of keeping you alive.
Wow, so it was the ultimate act of protection.
Yes. So when a parent asks, did you eat? The psychological translation is actually, I'm thinking about you. I want to know that you are safe, that you are taking care of yourself, and that you are okay.
That makes so much sense. Another incredibly common instruction is, call me when you reach, which really just translates to, I will be sitting here with a knot in my stomach worrying about you until I have proof that you are safe.
Love is hiding right inside those ordinary instructions. And as we see here tonight, I invite you, the listener, to just close your eyes for a moment and consider your own family. What is their hidden love language?
That's a great question to think about.
What is the perfectly ordinary phrase they use that actually means, I love you?
Recognizing those hidden meanings completely changes how you hear their voices. Suddenly, they aren't nagging you, they are loving you. But we also need to know how to speak that language back to them. And we can do that without feeling completely overwhelmed by our schedules.
Yes, you really do not need to schedule a 1-hour formal meeting to show love. You can use very basic English grammatical structures to initiate warm daily chats.
Like what? Give us an example.
For example, a simple text message that uses a subject, a verb, and an object. Just something like, I was thinking about you.
I was thinking about you. I love that. It takes maybe 5 seconds to type, or even just a 2-minute phone call on your walk to the train. A 2-minute call is not going to solve the mysteries of the universe, but it is entirely sufficient to say, I remember you, you are important to me.
Exactly. It is about consistency, not duration. Small, warm points of contact protect the relationship while allowing you to maintain your fast-paced life.
But let me ask you this, because this is where it gets tricky. If decoding a question like, did you eat, is just a matter of translating a sweet hidden message, why does it suddenly feel like an absolute battlefield the second I mention my career choices? Or, say, my decision to move to a new city?
Now we are stepping into the deep waters of the generational gap.
Yeah, that's a big one.
This isn't just a difference of opinion. This is a profound difference in how older and younger people literally perceive risk and safety.
Right, because parents often push so incredibly hard for safety. They want you to have a traditional, stable job, a very clear plan for your future, and they want you to take absolutely zero unnecessary risks.
And we have to look at the mechanism behind that. Why are they wired that way? Often, it is because of the lived trauma or historical scarcity they experienced.
So they see the world differently.
Completely differently. Their brains were literally wired in environments where a single risk could mean total ruin. They learn to hold on tightly to whatever security they could find. So when they see you taking a risk, like starting a new business or moving abroad, their nervous system reacts with pure panic.
Okay, I hear that, but I have to push back a little bit on behalf of our listeners.
Please do.
Speaking honestly, just understanding that their brains are wired for scarcity and that they worry out of love, that doesn't actually make the pressure feel any lighter on our shoulders. care and pressure can look completely identical.
That is a very fair point.
When your family asks for the fifth time when you were going to settle down and get a normal job, it feels incredibly heavy. Frankly, a lot of people my age would just label that behavior as a toxic family.
It is very tempting to use the word toxic for anything that makes us uncomfortable, but I think we have to challenge that label a bit.
How so?
We must distinguish between genuine malice, which does exist, of course, and misapplied love. Mismatched anxiety isn't necessarily toxic. The tragedy here is that these older family members are the keepers of our earliest memories.
The keepers of our earliest memories.
Yes. They are the only people on earth who hold our old stories. And their pressure often comes from a deep terror of losing us to a modern world they fundamentally do not understand.
The keepers of our old stories. That is a really beautiful way to think of them. But even if we understand that, how do we handle the sheer weight of it? The exhausting work of constantly having to justify your modern lifestyle to people who grew up in a completely different era.
That is where we have to talk about the mechanics of setting healthy boundaries. And the most important shift in perspective is this. A boundary is not a wall you build to keep your family out.
Not a wall.
Never.
Yeah.
A boundary is more like a filter or a semi-permeable membrane. It is designed to let the nutrients, the love, the connection in, while keeping the toxins, the excessive guilt, the control out.
Let me highlight that for our learners because it is profound. A boundary is not a wall. You can love your family deeply, and you can still need space to breathe.
Absolutely.
Taking a quiet evening for yourself or choosing not to discuss your finances with your parents does not mean you love them less. It means you are preserving your energy so you can continue to love them tomorrow.
Precisely. You are protecting the relationship from resentment.
But sometimes, despite our absolute best efforts at setting these gentle filters, things go wrong. A misunderstanding happens, voices get raised, feelings get hurt, and then, well, we retreat into silence.
The silence. It is one of the most painful dynamics in any family. Two people who love each other, completely unable to bridge a gap over something incredibly small.
I always think of post-argument silence as being a lot like technical debt and software engineering.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
When you write computer code, if you leave a tiny bug unfixed, it seems fine at first. But if you ignore it, that bug compounds. It interacts with other things. And eventually, that tiny error crashes the entire system.
Wow, yes.
Silence starts as a brief pause to cool down. But if you leave it alone, it hardens. Both sides sit in their separate corners, completely rewriting the history of the argument in their own minds to make themselves the victim, waiting in fear for the other person to call first.
Emotional technical debt. That is an incredibly accurate metaphor. And what is fascinating about breaking that silence, the psychology of making amends, is that we usually completely misunderstand what the process requires.
What do we get wrong about it?
We think making amends means going into a courtroom. We think it means preparing a long, dramatic speech where we confess that we were 100% wrong and the other person was 100% right.
Right. We treat it like we are yielding total liability in a lawsuit. No wonder we avoid it.
Exactly. But making amends is not about winning a debate. It is simply the brave, vulnerable decision that the relationship itself matters more than your ego.
The relationship matters more than being right.
Yes. It is deciding that having your sibling or your parent in your life is vastly more important to you than your need to be right about whatever tiny misunderstanding started the fight in the first place.
So, practically speaking, for someone listening right now, how do we clear that technical debt using English? We do not need a massive vocabulary, right? We just need honest, foundational English sentences.
That's right. Keep it simple.
If you are staring at your phone, terrified to call, you can just dial the number and say, I don't want to leave things like this between us.
Notice how effective and simple that grammar is, learners. I don't want to leave things like this. It focuses entirely on I and us.
Doesn't print fingers.
No, it does not assign blame for the past. It simply states a desire for peace in the future.
Another incredibly useful phrase is, I didn't like how we ended that conversation.
And the beautiful psychological truth is that when you are brave enough to offer one of those gentle phrases, you break the tension. The other person's response is almost always a massive sigh of relief, followed by two simple words. Me neither.
Me neither. Just recognizing that both of you were hurting in the silence, it really is beautiful. But, to truly connect with our families, we need to ensure these English words do not just stay floating around in our heads.
This is a vital point for language learners. Knowing the vocabulary intellectually is only half the battle.
What's the other half?
Well, when our emotions are high, when we are nervous or feeling guilty or about to apologize, our brain's amygdala triggers a stress response. Our throat tightens up, and suddenly the second language we know perfectly well completely disappears from our minds.
We freeze, like a deer in headlights.
We freeze, and the way to overcome that biological freeze response is through physical muscle memory. Practicing the words out loud, alone, in a calm and safe space, ensures they become an automatic part of your everyday English.
So, learners, wherever you are right now, lying in bed, sitting in your chair, we are going to do a very relaxing, gentle vocabulary practice.
Just take it slow.
I will introduce the word. We will explain the mechanics of what it means simply. And I want you to softly speak the word out loud in your room. Do not worry about your accent. Do not worry about being perfect. Just take a breath and let your mouth feel the physical shape of the English words. Are you ready?
Let's begin. Our first word is upbringing.
Upbringing. Just take a second, say it softly out loud right now. Upbringing.
Upbringing refers to the environment and the way you were raised as a child by your family. It is the collection of lessons, both good and bad, that they taught you.
You could say, my upbringing shaped the way I view the world today.
Beautiful. Our next word describes a very specific feeling. Belonging.
Belonging. Try saying it out loud with a soft voice. Belonging.
Belonging is that rare, profound feeling of having a secure place where you are fully accepted without having to pretend. It is a place where people know your habits and your history.
Like saying, despite our arguments, my family gives me a true sense of belonging.
Exactly. Now, the third phrase is the concept we debated earlier, generational gap.
Generational gap. Say it out loud. Generational gap.
This describes the difference in how older and younger people perceive life, risk, and culture entirely because they grew up in different historical eras.
You might explain a misunderstanding by saying, we love each other, but there is a wide generational gap between my parents and me.
Perfect. Next is a word that carries some weight. Obligation.
Let's practice that. Obligation.
An obligation is a duty or an expectation. It is something you feel you must do, whether legally or morally. As we discussed earlier, family obligations can feel heavy, even when they are rooted in love.
And our last phrase, the one that requires the most bravery, make amends. Speak it softly into the room. Make amends.
To make amends means to actively repair a relationship after a problem, an argument, or a hurt feeling. It is paying off that emotional, technical debt.
You could say, instead of ignoring the silence, I decided to call my sister and make amends.
Excellent. Just let those concepts settle in your mind for a moment. Upbringing, belonging, generational gap, obligation, make amends. Notice how taking a few seconds to actually vocalize them helps cement them in your memory.
It truly does.
When you practice in a state of calm relaxation, your brain stores the physical memory of speaking the words without the stress, making them instantly available to you when you need them in a real emotional conversation.
As we start to wrap up this gentle deep dive, let's just take a moment to look back at the path we walked tonight. We started by looking at the guilt of the unreturned phone call, right?
Yes, and we realized that our families aren't trying to trap us. They usually just have a very human need to know they are remembered.
And we learned how to decode the hidden, action-oriented messages of love in ordinary questions like, did you eat?
We debated how to balance the heavy weight of family expectations with our own valid need for personal space, understanding that boundaries are not walls, but necessary filters.
Right. And finally, we found the courage to pay off the emotional, technical debt of silence, using simple, honest English phrases to make amends rather than waiting in fear.
It is a lot to process, but it is all connected by one unifying desire to communicate more honestly with the people we love.
Before we let you drift off to sleep or, continue with your evening, we want to return to a thought we mentioned earlier.
Yes. We talked about how despite the misunderstandings and the generational gaps, our family members are the keepers of our old stories. They are the rare few on this earth who remember who we were before we grew up.
Before we became polished professionals, before we became who we are today.
Exactly. And losing that connection means losing a piece of your own history.
So what is the final thought you want to leave our learners with tonight?
My question for you to mull over tonight is this. If your family holds the precious history of your old stories, how can you use your communication and your newly practiced English today to make sure they are also invited to be a part of your new stories, despite the busy schedules and the miles between you?
Wow. What a beautiful, provocative question to carry with us into the night. How do we invite them into our new stories? Thank you for exploring all of these mechanisms with me, and thank you, listener, for sharing your time and joining us on this deep dive.
It has been a true pleasure. Keep practicing.
You are doing vital, beautiful work, both with your language learning and with your heart. Remember, your English grows the most when you use it gently, even just to send a 5-second text message. Take care of your English and take care of your heart. Have a very peaceful night.